Hello and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. If this is your first time on this channel, you're welcome. Please subscribe if you're yet to subscribe and also give this video a thumbs up. Today's video is on how to make a 6 pieces gown without a half cut, without joining at the waist. So today I'll be using this Ankara fabric and also a plain fabric, and I'll also line the gown. As the name implies, we are going to have 6 panels for this gown. So for the center panel in front and the back, I'll use the Ankara fabric, and for the side panels, I'll use the plain fabric. Also, what we'll be using for this tutorial today will be our pattern, our shoulder dart bustier pattern. I have a link in the description box on how I explain how you can make your own shoulder dart bustier pattern. But for the pattern I'm using today, I also took a bust dart, but that does not matter. You can also use the other pattern, which I will drop in the description box, to make this gown. So on how full I want this gown to be at the hem area, we'll do a little bit of calculation. So I have 6 panels for this gown. So I'll decide how wide I want each panel to be. So I've decided to make each panel 16 inches. So I'm going to multiply 6 by 16 inches. So I will multiply 6 by 16 inches. You can decide how big you want it to be based on the fabric you have available. So when I multiply 6 by 16, I have um 90 96 inches. Okay, so I'm going to add the extra 3 inches for my zipper allowance, making it 99 inches. So in this way, I can actually know the amount of fabric I need in making this gown. So I've gone ahead to fold my Ankara fabric for the center front. So I folded a width of 8 inches. I said I wanted each panel to be 16 inches. So on fold I have 8 inches. And for the length, remember I said I took a bust dart. So the length for the front and that of the back for me will not be the same. But if you're using the pattern, which I would drop the link in the description box, the length for the front and the back will be the same. So for my front length, the center front, I have a length of 42.5 inches, and on fold I have 8 inches, and I've pinned my pattern for the front to the fabric. So from the shoulder part down, I have 42.5 inches. So on the hem, I measured that 8 inches. From where, just the way I positioned my rule, I'm going to connect from the waist down to the 8 inches I have. Note that I'm doing this because on my pattern I've added all my sewing allowances. So I've added all allowances except the shoulder joining allowance, which I would add as I'm cutting out my fabric. So like I said, I have already added the allowance for joining by the darts where I cut out the darts. So I've added that to my pattern. If you did not add that to your pattern, then you have to add that while cutting out the fabric. So I'll go ahead and add the shoulder dart because that was not added on my pattern. I mean the shoulder joining allowance. So I'll add that as I'm cutting out my fabric. So for the back part, I've also folded my fabric into two. The length for the back part, the length for the center back is 41 inches. Like I said, the length for the front and the back are different for me using this pattern because I took a bust dart in front. So the length for this is 41 inches. And for the width, I would also fold the 8 inches I did in front plus extra 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance. So all I have, the width is 9.5 inches. So I would connect from the waist down to this 9.5 inches I have by the hem side, just like I did for the front. And I'll also connect from the zipper allowance side where we removed for the zipper bulge, connect it down like you can see from what I'm showing you. I'll then go ahead and cut out the back part. I'll also remember to add my shoulder joining allowance like I did for the front part. I'll also split the back into two. So now I've folded my fabric into two. I want to cut the two sides panel, front sides panel at once. So I measured out the length for the front, which is 42.5 inches. And you can see how I placed the center front to enable me know exactly where the bust point and the under bust point are meeting. I want them to meet at the exact same point. So I place them and make sure that the patterns are meeting, that the bust points are meeting, as you can see from what I'm showing you. Then I removed my center front and I'll go ahead with cutting the side panels. So for the side panels, remember we said each panel will have 16 inches. I have a width of 16 inches. And you can see I divided that 16 inches into two. That is 8 inches on both sides. So I would place my side pattern in a way that I would divide that also the waist part into two and place it exactly on the line I have ruled out on my fabric. So from that line I ruled out, I would measure to the right 8 inches and to the left 8 inches. That is what I would do on the hem. So that straight line ran down to the hem part. So on the hem part from from that line to the right I measured 8 inches and to the left I measured 8 inches, so that the flare will be evenly distributed for the side panels. So I'm also connecting from one side of the waist to the 8 inches I measured, and from the other side to the 8 inches I measured. So I'll go ahead now and cut out um, the side panels. So remember I'm cutting two, that's one on each side of the front. So I'm cutting the two together. So when I cut out, I will use my fabric to cut out my lining the exact same way I cut out my fabric for both the center front and the side front, the center back and the side backs as well. So now at the end part, you can see I'm going up by 1 inch and I'm going to make a curve towards the inner side. This is to enable the hem part to be round and not pointed out. So when I do this, I'll do this for all panels. I'll also do that for the center front that I've already cut out, and also for the center back that I've cut out as well. So I'll do this for all panels. But for the center front, as you can see, I'm only coming in from the side. This is on fold, so I'm coming in from the side by 1 inch, so it covers for both sides when it's opened. So I've also placed my my side back panels the same way I did for the side fronts. I've measured the same way. The explanation that I made for the front sides also works for the side back panels. So I've cut out my back panels as well. So as you can see, I've also cut out the lining piece. I've done that for all panels. So I'll go ahead and take my neckline. I did not cut a neckline on my pattern. So I'm taking a neck depth of 1.5 inches for the back and a neck width of 4 inches. So I'm doing a neck width of 4 inches and a neck depth of 1.5 inches for the back part. So for the front neckline, I will use the same neck width as what I have on the back, which is 4 inches. And for the neck depth, I will use a neck depth of 4 inches. So I'm doing a neck line of 4 by 4 in front. So I'll go ahead and cut out the neckline for the front. So at the bust region, I've ironed a gum stay to the bust region. You can decide to pad using your wadding, but I just use a gum stay to pad this gown. So what I'll do now will be to pin them together. One part of the the side front with the center front, I would start pinning from the under bust part. I'll make sure the under bust parts are meeting, and I would pin down and also up, and I'll do the same for the neck, the other part, and sew them together. I will also repeat this for the lining pieces. Then for the back, I would sew one part of the center back to one part of the side back as you've seen me arrange them. I will sew using 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll do that for the other part as well because that's the allowance I left for that. And I'll also do the same thing for the lining piece. So as you can see, I've sewn them together. This is my side, my back piece, one of my back pieces. I notched and then ironed the seam open. I also did same for the front piece. Now the front piece is now just one piece. I've sewn together, and I notched properly and ironed the seam open. You can see what I have inside. So I notched the bust region and ironed open the seam there. Okay, so as you can see at the hem part, because of my difference in measurements, it is not completely matching, so I'll go ahead and trim as you see me do. But if you used your pattern without the bust, that's taken, everything would match up very well. So what I'll do now will be to join them by the shoulder using the 1/2 inch seam allowance I took. I'll join the front and the back by the shoulder using 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll do the same for the lining piece. So after doing that, I'm going to use the lining piece to turn the neckline. As you can see, I've already turned my neckline. I notched and also top stitched towards the lining side. I've also used the lining to turn each piece of the panel, each panel. So after that, I would then join the front and the back by the side. I'm also attaching a pocket, inner pocket to this gown. So you can see how I've pinned. I'll go ahead and sew using the 1 inch seam allowance I have. I would sew all around. I'll also attach my sleeve to this gown and attach the a zipper to the back. So I've done all these. You can see the gown is ready. Our 6 pieces gown is ready. I've attached my zipper, my sleeves, and this is what I have. And like I said, I also extended the length of this gown by making a gathers down. I added an extra 5-inch length to it to complete the length I want for this gown. And you can see our inner pocket. So thank you guys for watching. If you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please subscribe now, and also click on the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. Give this video a thumbs up and share with your friends. Thank you for stopping by today. Hope to see you in my next video. Bye.